Alrighty, guys, welcome to our channel. We have Bryan and Maggie today, and then Michelle's going to go over how we've met.
Okay, welcome Bryan, Maggie to our channel. Thank you for taking your time out to let us interview you guys today. So we met Bryan and Maggie through real estate event. The first one, if you guys remember, was Tom's condo. That was when I first initially saw you guys, but we didn't really talk until I think Sean's Memorial Day weekend barbecue.
Thanks.
And then Bryan just came up and talked to us, very friendly, and Maggie. And then you guys became really good close friends to us since then. All right, so a little bit about our channel before we start asking you guys questions. So our channel is about relationship and business. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. So the purpose of the channel is to let our millennial viewers, which is our audience that we're targeting, millennials see what the journey of relationship and business is like and what it takes. So we basically document our journey and also interview people and couples like you guys so that they can view and see what that journey is like as well.
Cool. Yeah. So just wanted to make, a formal introduction. So Bryan, he's a founder of Asian Hustle Network, also known as AHN. Also the podcast host of Crushing Real Estate. And then Maggie, is co-founder of Asian Hustle Network and also part of Nova Staging. That's also another of her business. And both are highly involved in Hate is a Virus movement, which both of them are going to elaborate further in this podcast. Cool.
Yep. Did we miss anything? You guys
want to add to it?
Very generous introduction. Yeah. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm glowing right now.
Yes.
We want to ask if you guys want to explain to our viewers, tell them what Asian Hustle Network is and what Hate is a Virus is so that they'll know.
Yeah, so Maggie, talk about Asian Hustle Network. I'll talk about Hate is a Virus.
Yeah, I'll talk about Asian Hustle Network. So Bryan and I started Asian Hustle Network back in November of 2019. So it's been about 6 months now. And now we have over 53,000 members. So we've come a long way, but we're definitely not done yet. And so the mission of Asian Hustle Network is to empower and uplift Asian entrepreneurs and allies globally. And when we first initially started the group, we had Asians and allies share their entrepreneurial stories because we were frustrated with, going online and not seeing a community for Asian entrepreneurs. And this brings us back to back from last year when we were attending a lot of real estate conferences and in-person events. And we saw a speaker panel, and a lot of events have speaker panels, but we kept seeing the same thing over and over again, which was where there was a speaker panel, but none of them were Asian, and this real estate conference that we went to, it was mostly Caucasian male, and all of them, they own, most of the land in Berkeley. And so we were thinking, okay, why is it that we keep seeing this reoccurring issue where none of the speakers are Asian? And so we went online to see if there were any communities online for Asian entrepreneurs, to which we couldn't find anything. And so we were like, okay, maybe we should create something for Asian entrepreneurs. And so we created a Facebook group. We didn't expect anything out of it, and we shared it with our initial friends, our initial circle. And I remember we invited about, less than 500 people. We went to the gym that night, and it just started blowing up. And we were like, this is crazy. We aren't really doing anything. The only thing that we did was we set the tone and the values of the group, and we wanted everyone to share, their businesses and be more open with sharing their entrepreneurial journeys. And this ties back to, our Asian heritage. A lot of our parents, they come from times of war. They come from areas where they only keep to themselves and they only support their own people, and they're afraid of, helping other people out because of their experiences. And they want us to go through, go to, be a doctor or be a lawyer, go through something safe and secure because they immigrated here, with nothing on their backs, and they want us to have a very secure life. Yeah. But we know nowadays, it's not like that anymore. There's lots of ways to make money. We're living in a digital world, and it just takes some time for them to understand that, right? Mm-hmm. And we want to cultivate that and make it known that it's okay to go through the entrepreneurial route. Mm-hmm. And as soon as people started sharing their stories and entrepreneurial stories, we got so much feedback, from people saying, I've never found something like this before. And, I wish I found something like this when I first started out in my entrepreneurial journey, because everyone is just there to support each other and to offer feedback and collaborate. And it's been an amazing journey. We've been, doing events all over the world, in Australia, all over the US. But obviously we've come to a bit of difficulties with COVID-19. We couldn't do any more in-person events. So we're really trying to focus more on creating more videos, more virtual content, and just providing as much value as we can to the Asian entrepreneurs.
Yeah, to get people sharing their story at the very beginning was very nerve-wracking. I had to share my story first. And I have to give a lot of credit to the people sharing their stories right now, because I shared my story to like 300 people, and I was tripping out already. I was like, dude, everyone's gonna read my story. It's hella scary. But now it's like 50,000 people.
Yeah.
So you guys are the braver ones, not me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own story, right? Which is tying it, like, wherever you do, there's always going to be that story that keeps you grounded, even though all the success, right? It's good for others to know.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way because they can type up their stories. A lot of people who are afraid to like make a video or record themselves, you hear them self-talk, so it's good that they can type it up.
Cool.
Yeah. So I can talk a little bit more about Hate is a Virus. It's basically an extension of Asian Hustle Network in a way.
Yeah.
I think at the peak of COVID-19, I saw a lot of pending posts about people worry about their business. Yeah. And more importantly, people were very concerned about their safety. Like they were concerned about the huge spike in Asian crime. And it wasn't just the COVID that scared the Asian population, it was the crime. And we saw that too, and we were afraid to go out even grocery shopping, Yeah. And because of that, like I wanted to do something more. I wanted to make sure we have a even safer place for people to come together and for us to get rid of the miscommunication that's going on with the Asian population. As people stop eating Asian food, stop drinking Corona beer, in the fear of getting coronavirus, which is like misinformation right there. So I had a AHN member post inside my group, and I saw her pending post. And it says, I want to form a smaller community where we can form people, like we have groups of people, like small groups of people supporting small Asian restaurants. I saw that, so I reached out to her. Her name is Michelle Hanabusa. And I told her, let's work together and let's blow this up big, I didn't think that it was going to hit 6 million impressions in 2 months, but I kind of hoped that it would come like super big. So together with Michelle Hanabusa and Tammy Cho, she also reached out to Michelle. We formed the team. We actually formed a nonprofit. So during our last event on Saturday, we were able to raise $16,000 in 2 hours. And we're donating 100% of that to support these small Asian restaurants and frontline workers.
Huge. Yeah, so many people are impacted by this. I'm so glad for you guys to start that movement. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so I'm all about impact. I see stuff. Because my ears are so close to the ground managing Asian Hustle Network, I literally like and read every single post in the network. And I was joking with Maggie, if we add up all the numbers together, all the reactions, posts, comments, whatever, it's 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impact, right? You're getting everyone, involved.
Do you guys know or monitor like everyone joining the group? Because I know recently there's someone just posted on there where Maggie was like, oh my God, someone just comment on there where she was like a public figure, right?
Oh.
Yeah, we know everything. We see everything. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but I think that it comes with like that's what we have to do in order to make sure that the quality is really good.
Yeah.
Because with 53,000 members, you get a lot of strong personalities, especially because like most of them are entrepreneurs.
And they're hustlers. They
exactly.
They hustle us too.
Yeah. So naturally, like you're bound to get a lot of salespeople. And if we let that flood the group, it tends to diminish the quality of the group. So we try to filter that out and focus more on stories.
Yep. That's awesome. Cool.
As well.
Cool.
So I would like to ask, since Maggie already did a little overview of what coming up with the idea of AHN was like. As a couple, what were some struggle and challenges building AHN together as a couple?
Yeah, do you want to go first?
No, I can go first.
Oh, okay. Let's see, some struggles. I think that a really big struggle is, especially now during COVID-19, we're sheltered in place, and it's really hard for a couple working together to really distinguish, like what is work time and what is relationship time, right? And I think that while we're ramping up AHN, it's been really fast paced in the last couple of months, and it's really easy to let work time tap into relationship time, and it affects like dinner time, right? Like sometimes when we're watching TV and eating dinner, we mostly focus on watching TV and eating dinner. But sometimes, I find us like working, on our phones, and it's just sometimes it's we can't help it because, our team is reaching out to us, and it's really hard to ignore them, when they're asking for something during that time. But you really have to think about like, what is the long-term effect, right? Is this going to help your relationship in the long term? And it's really easy to get those two different time blocks mixed up, especially now that we're like sheltered in place. One really good advice is just to create time blocks for yourself and your significant other, right? It's really important for you to determine, okay, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. we're gonna work, and then maybe 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. we take a break and just focus on nurturing your relationship. And then maybe like after 7 p.m. we just focus on our relationship, and we don't let that tap into, or we don't let business and our anything relating to business tap into our relationship time. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
It's for me, I feel like my life is right now is a huge blend of everything. My leisure is work, my relationship is work.
Yeah, that's true.
My gym time is work because I can't go to the gym right now.
Yeah, I've been missing the gym too, man.
I find myself working as soon as I wake up to like late into the night. And, constantly answering questions for my team, building the team culture, building within my team and outside my team. Taking the nighttime to really reflect like what can I do better as a leader. But at the same time, you have to take a step back and reflect how can I be better as a boyfriend too. But luckily, working with Maggie has made that process a little more seamless because she sees the vision. She's not one of those relationship person that would nag me and, hey, you're not spending time with me, you're not paying attention to me. She knows what I'm doing. I'm always constantly thinking about the business, and because I do that so often, the trust is there too. Like I told her, I joke around with her, I don't have time to cheat. And like you see me working all the time, talking to people. Like you're in Asian Hustle Network too. You see all my messages. Like there's no time to cheat. It's like
I see you responding so quick, man. If someone posts something, you're like boom, boom, boom. Same with Maggie too. That's awesome. But I love that you guys share that same vision and that same common goal, right? Which is so hard for not many couples to grasp that idea, and that's very rare to come across. Yeah.
And I'd just like to add on top of that, I think some people have this misconception that you can't work with your significant other because or like you can't work with friends because it ruins relationships. But it really depends on your perception and how you look at it, right? And how you're able to kind of find solutions with that significant other and build on top of your relationship.
I always think that if you can somehow turn your work into pleasure, you're gonna work on it all the time, and it'll be fun for you. And that's the same me with working in a relationship. It has to stay fun.
That's key. Cool.
Yeah. How about any like disagreement that you guys ever had, political views on AHN, and how did you guys overcome that?
That part, we do have plenty of disagreements, obviously, but we tend to like talk it through, and we support each other's opinions. Best of all, we do have a team right now. If we do have a suggestion, they can be our mediator, sort of. Inevitable, anything that you do, but it's all about communication and finding your strengths and weaknesses and compromising. It's basically applying everything you learn in business, negotiation, with each other.
Mm-hmm.
How it's gonna work? Like you do what, I do this. Make sure we're both accountable. We're reaching each other's expectations. We have to be clear about expectations, because once your expectation is off, that's when arguments happen.
So setting that clear expectation right off the bat, yeah.
What are you expected to do? What am I expected to do?
Yeah.
Can we trust each other? You know?
Wow.
Yeah, and I think like it's obviously, you know, when you have two people in the room, there's bound to be disagreements, right? You're always going to have disagreements because you're not the same person. Mm-hmm. But I think just like we hear each other out all the time, and we, you know, look at it from each other's perspective. And, you know, if there's something that I'm missing, like I'm open to seeing it from his perspective, and vice versa, right? Like if you're working with your significant other, it's very easy to, you know, just kind of double down on your own decision and say like, no, I don't like your decision. But you just have to be really mindful and open about that. And you have to look at it from the other person's perspective, and you have to put yourselves in their shoe. Like maybe there's something that I'm not seeing and that someone else is seeing. So it's just easier to look at it from a fresh pair of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
So to wrap that up with the relationship aspect, what is one big advice that you can choose from that couples who are starting their own business, in whether it's in real estate or community organizations like you guys, what is one advice that you can give them?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say, you know, there's a lot of couples out there who, you know, are trying to, you know, start whatever it is, YouTube channel with their significant other or a podcast. And it's easy to kind of fall into other people's footsteps because it seems like a shiny object, right? Like, oh, I see famous couples doing this and I want to do that too. But I think one really good advice is just to know and hone in on what you both are passionate about, right? Like it's really important to have that conversation with your significant other and see what it is, like what strengths do they have and what weaknesses do they have, and then what strengths and weaknesses you have yourself. And maybe, you know, those don't align, and that's okay, you know, and, you know, if that significant other has weaknesses, maybe you're strong in those areas and vice versa. And it's really important to know, like, what are your interests, you know, and I think that that's really important in setting yourself apart from other people, because everyone wants to become like a YouTube, you know, famous couple, right? But how do you differentiate yourself from someone else, right? Like, how are you different from them? Maybe it's something that is really unique, right? Like, I don't know, maybe like their occupation, or maybe it's their race, or, you know, I think a lot of people are, they find that we have to fit into a certain criteria. But I think if you're just being like honest and unique with who you are, people are able to see that, and they fall in love with that family or that couple, right? Because they're different from everyone else and they're not like any other couple. So I think it's just like being unique and authentic with who you are, and just like showing some sort of vulnerability, like being honest with your audience, right? And showing that you're just like any other people out there, any other person out there. And, you know, showing that you have differences with that significant other, but also showing that you can build on top of that and improve with each other. And I think people are able to see that, you know, you are a role model to the general audience, and that they want to be like you.
Yeah, I also do want to add too that you shouldn't force anything.
Yeah.
It has to just come kind of naturally. There are some couples out there who, as a couple, they're fantastic. But business-wise, they're not compatible. So you have to keep that in mind too, that sometimes starting a business with your significant other is not the greatest idea. You know? So you have to respect that.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to respect that there's multiple paths to success, you know, and that at the end of the day is how do you keep each other happy? That's most important.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the biggest key to take away from that is really auditing yourself and understanding your strengths and weaknesses, and then just dig deep into that. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So I know that we mentioned a lot about like kind of like the relationship aspect, working together. But now let's switch gear and switch over to like the business aspect of it. Just wanted to ask you guys, like, where do you see yourself, short term and long term wise, like within this year, 2020, and then next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see yourself, Bryan, with your real estate space, and then with Maggie and your guys' Asian Hustle Network group?
Yeah, I mean, for real estate, for us, 2020 is just a matter of stabilizing everything because it's been crazy right now.
Very crazy.
Yeah. So I think that the opportunity is there at the end of the year, so you just have to be careful of all of your investments at this current moment. You don't know how much it's going to dip. Unemployment rates skyrocketing right now.
Yeah.
So be very wary of that. As for Asian Hustle Network, at the end of this year, we do see ourselves we have been incorporated. We do see ourselves formalizing to a formal company, going to our early round raising for our company.
Oh wow!
So we really want to turn ourselves into a powerhouse, a media powerhouse, or a tech powerhouse.
Yeah.
What we realize is that most of the Asian news is extremely biased out there.
That's true.
We could become something similar to CNN, that's why what's the direction I want to go. I want to become a network just to like support the Asian community and for us to really share our vision and our voice. And I'm always crazy enough to believe that it will happen. And I feel like the path that we're trending towards and the path that I'm planning for the team, team planning for myself, I feel like it's just a matter of time before we hit that goal.
That's awesome.
And I think as far as Asian Hustle Network, our short-term goal right now, we are coming out with a lot of content to empower Asian entrepreneurs, especially during this time. People are looking for help due to COVID-19, and a lot of people are struggling in their business and financially, emotionally, whatever it may be. And we just want to offer, knowledge and content for them to be able to thrive and keep their doors open. Long-term goals would say, as Bryan mentioned, we want to become a media company. And, you see movies with Asian stars in them, right? But they're still being categorized as like very rare. Yeah, very weak, very rare. Like if a movie comes out with Asian stars, everyone talks about it, right? Like because it's so rare. But I think long term, I really want it to be normalized. Why can't we have Asian stars and just have that be a normal basis, right? And I think we should still celebrate these type of things, but then at the same time, like we need to have more representation. And we're trying to tackle that by doing these spotlight videos highlighting Asian entrepreneur stories. But at the same time, we've only been focusing more in the United States, and we really want to broaden that out and start focusing on Asian entrepreneurs in, let's say, Asia, right? Around the world. There's so many entrepreneurs all over the world who are super talented, super skilled, and deserve more attention. And I think that people have this conception like America is the best, and all the great entrepreneurs are in America, but that's not true at all. There's great entrepreneurs everywhere, all over the world. And we really want to highlight that. So our long-term goal is to, have our own video production crew to fly them out and highlight Asian entrepreneur stories all over the world.
Yeah, we're planting seeds for that already. Yeah. We have teams around the world looking at production costs, like networking with really high-level entrepreneurs around the world.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
And I love it because you guys are like just using this platform, leveraging it, and then being able to connect with so many people across the world, and not just limited to your state, right? Which is, here in California, we're exposing it to everywhere, Australia, wherever you guys are in, which is awesome. Definitely. So I would say, what would be one of your guys' biggest like success stories that you feel like super proud of? I mean, you guys have so many, successes. I would say, what's one thing that you guys feel, hey, this is a huge accomplishment?
Yeah, I think the biggest accomplishment is the sense of unity that we're building.
Yeah.
building a culture that we do belong somewhere. That we're here for each other, not here for selling or whatnot.
Yeah,
we're genuinely here for each other. And how we know that we're doing a decent job and it makes it really well is by seeing how vulnerable people are in age. And the fact that they're sharing stories that they haven't shared to their friends or family, but they're sharing to us.
That's huge.
Powerful. That's really powerful. And that's our main motivation of why we do the things we do.
Yeah. And I would say, I would add on top of that, before COVID-19 happened, when we were doing a bunch of in-person events, we had 700 people come out to the LA event. 700 people come out to the LA event. And this was all through word of mouth, with $0 in marketing, $0 in ads. And we, when we had that event, I think, I had this thought in my head, and I was like, maybe we have something here, and I had that thought even before, but it was at that moment. And shout out to Calvin and Kevin for helping plan that event as well.
And the rest of the LA team.
And the rest of the LA team. I think that during that moment, I was like, wow, this is incredible, because we really are trying to fill a void that everyone needs. And no one has, a lot of people came up to us and said, like, I've never been to an event like this before. And, like, news channel stations came out to interview us. And, everyone is just kind of craving for human interaction, especially during this time. And this is why we're trying to connect, all of the Asian entrepreneurs and allies together. All we really want is connection and to build powerful relationships. So I would say, that's like one of our biggest accomplishments.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. And just, one of my last question that I have is, what is probably one of your biggest why that keeps you going? Everyone, I think within different parts of your career and different paths, we develop a new why, right? I'm just curious to know, like, what is your guys' biggest why, Bryan and Maggie, that keeps you going, even though during these hard times?
Yeah. I would say just, I feel like in our community, I feel like we deserve a voice. And I especially feel that because, I grew up, in a pretty sheltered, family, and my parents immigrated here from Hong Kong. And so I went to school with like mostly Chinese people, and I'm Chinese. And, my parents don't speak English that much. And they always just told us to keep to ourselves, and don't create chaos. And if I talk about Asian Hustle Network with my parents, they don't really understand it. They don't understand like what the purpose of it is and like how it can create change. And it's just hard for them to see that because they come from a different time. They come from a different generation. But I think my why is just to be able to have a lot of Asians find their voice. And I particularly feel this way because, especially Asian Americans, we don't really have a place that we can identify with. If we go to Asia, let's say, if I go back to Hong Kong, I don't feel at home, because everyone there speaks Chinese and they can tell that I'm not born there. If I go into a restaurant in Hong Kong, you can tell that they are super nice to the natives there, but they're super rude to me. And that's fine, but I understand where they're coming from because they don't like foreigners. But if I position myself in America as well, I also have this like identity, feeling like, where do I really belong? Because we are in a country that is mostly, they idolize, people who are not minorities, not members of minorities. And, my why is just so that we can find our own voice and really cultivate and claim our heritage for ourselves.
That's huge.
Yeah. My why is pretty similar to Maggie's too. I always tell people when I was investing into real estate, like I told them that I felt like real estate was a tool for me to do something bigger.
Yeah.
I needed real estate to free up my time and my financial needs so I can do something bigger. And when the time came, I seized the opportunity to do something more.
Yeah.
I always felt like money was not that important, or money is just a tool.
Yeah.
Because my bigger impact, and I know you guys, I talked to you guys before about this too, is I wanted to change the world.
Yeah.
Has always been my why. It has never changed since I was much, much younger, in my teenage years.
Wow.
You know?
Oh, wow, started all the way back then.
Yeah, I'm constantly mapping out, planning, you know, and then tracing back. I think about the things I do. You know,
Yeah.
I major in computer science not because I like engineering, because I knew that it would give me a pretty decent salary, and I knew that with that salary I could start investing. I knew that with investing it'll free up my time.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that with my time freed up, I can do more things for our community, our identity, do donations to give back to businesses. You know, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, people always ask me, what does retirement look like?
Back then?
Yeah.
Like college? Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I've been mapping it out since forever now. And I'm just following down the path that I planned for myself when I was much, much younger. You know, and the path doesn't end here. I still have a lot of things I still want to do.
Yeah.
This is just the very beginning. And my why is just to make the world a better place than it was yesterday.
That's awesome. That's a big why, man. Well, thank you for sharing, because I think you guys both have that common goal and drive that keeps you going, and that big why is always going to do that, right? A lot of people, in my opinion, like from what I've noticed, that those who tend to give back and leave a lasting impact, they're much more happier because they're able to contribute and then also be able to make the world a much better place. Because if you're always just chasing like the investment, or you're highly successful in real estate, so some people that just focus on the money aspect, they end up after 10, 20 years, are like, what else is next? You know, they just got money. Whereas here you have everything, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Our viewers, they needed to hear a lot of the whys, because a lot of time I know they graduate college and they don't know what's next.
Yeah.
That's normal though.
Yeah.
I know that everyone's a work in progress, so yep. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so we'll end it with asking you guys, are there any upcoming events that you're planning that you would like to let our viewer know?
Yeah, so we're talking about June 6th. Let's help with June 10th.
Yeah, so June 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we will have Stephanie Thoma. She will be speaking about networking while sheltering in place. And she is an author and a life networking strategy coach. And she's really experienced in giving webinars and talking about networking, especially during this time. She's also an introvert, but she considers herself a confident introvert. So she's really skilled at teaching people how to network with other people, given the circumstances, and especially if you feel like you are an introvert yourself. So check out for June 6th.
Wednesday, June 10th, we have the founder of Crunchyroll, Kun Kao. So pretty excited for him. I mean, we had him on our podcast a couple weeks ago, and we talked a lot about how he started his company and his favorite anime. So I'm a huge anime fan, so to have him on, it's like, wow, this is amazing. I can't wait. So June 10th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. So would it be just, where would this be posted on your guys' main page?
Asian Hustle Network. So please join that. And
So guys,
put the link in the description for our viewers.
One last thing before we end this. Bryan, just a prime example of this group, man. I had one of my colleagues from my fraternity. He actually messaged me. He said, saying, thank you for inviting me to this group. It encouraged me to quit my 9-to-5 job and pursue my business entrepreneur.
Wow.
And this is during shelter in place. So first of all, I didn't even know that my invitation to him led him to make that decision, but also it was the story that you guys provided and the platform from AHN Hustle Network that kind of just took that leap forward.
That push.
Yeah, so it's a good friend of mine from college, so just wanted to share that with you guys.
That's amazing.
That made our day.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. Well, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Should we stop recording?
Yeah, we'll stop.